Well, here we are again. Started recording. All my tests so far have been good. All the audio has been working, so if it dies on me now, I'm going to cry. Right, there's definitely quite a few topics for this meeting, some of which have been sitting there for a couple months. Some of them are relevant, some of them are not so relevant anymore. Oh, we've still got a lot to discuss. Right, let's give her a couple more minutes so that the stragglers can fucking trickle in. Alright, most people probably know how this operates already, but just in case this is your first time, we like to operate a queue system. Basically just put queue in the community meetings text chat if you want to speak on a topic. If there's no one queued up, then feel free to have a more free-flowing discussion, but queues go first. Of course, we have our list of topics in the community meetings channel, but if there's anything else people would like to ask, bring up, questions people would like to pose to the staff, things staff would like to say to the community, then by all means, we can slot it in somewhere. Add other questions in at the end. But, of course, if people have a limited time they can be here, things like that, then we can be flexible, as it were. One thing I feel I can nip in the bud. The oldest message in the community meetings channel is from our resident pirate captain, Biscuits. I don't know if Biscuits is here. He may well show up later. But as for the CCE, well, discuss if voted in the potential impact community control environment will have on the usual community meetings. Damn it. As for my thoughts on that, if that is something that the mod team, admin team, whichever wants to incorporate, then I'm not going to complain. If people want to integrate the CCE into the community meetings, then I'm definitely not going to complain. I'm not going to be an obstacle to that happening, but that depends on the mod team, Ammo, Diesel, and the admin team, I guess.
Yeah, I think faction group chat will get an update here in the future from Diesel about how that will be set up. Which I think you are right; it will be done through here.
Oh, that works for me. Next message in the channel is Blake requesting the server cap to be lifted, which I don't know if the server cap's been permanently lifted. I know before we were raising it for prime time on weekends. Yeah.
So we've tracked what our prime time is, and usually we're hitting the mark pretty well so far, and that's what we're keeping at. So from was it 7 CST to no, sorry, yeah, basically from then until midnight, it's set to 70. And even then, we have like maybe one person, two people in the queue, depending on what's going on in game.
Probably the best way to do it, to be honest. No sense in having a bloody 70, even 80 slot server at 4 in the morning. Like, well, 10 in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time, when everyone else is asleep or at work.
And then I think we were sent a request to up the cap last night because there was an in-game event. So did that as well. But I think in the future we're not going to be doing 80. 75 is our sweet spot, I think.
Yeah.
Go any further than that, then there will be problems.
Yeah, I don't want to go too crazy. Next topic is from Mayor Croutons, whom I don't think is here. I think this has already happened. Put joining server guidelines on the website. Is it worthwhile? To add to this, I know we all hate clutter, but what about a Discord channel at the top dedicated to joining via vanilla launcher, direct connect, and DZSA? If I remember correctly, that's already been dealt with the question mark setup command.
Yes.
Yes, okay. That's dealt with. Oh, we're firing through these. Whoop, whoop. Our next topic is from Biscuits. But that to me just seems like an impulse post from an unfortunate turn of events. Because, of course, we want to promote RP. I'm going to put forward Louis' point for discussion, as it's equal in terms of thumbs up and thumbs down. So it could be benefit from discussion. I don't know if Louis... yes, I think Louis is here, if you would like to read out your topic.
I can read out the topic, but right. I think it's been discussed plenty in members general when it was posted, so I don't think it deserves much discussion. Food spawning liberally on zombies in Tier 1 has created lots of player activity along the coast. Some never leave it. This is an expected yet unintended consequence. Some players have built homes inland and then closed them down to go back to the coast to seek out the greater activity interaction. If we look at player movement maps, will we see the majority of players in Tier 1 the majority of the time? Like I said, it's been discussed in detail in members. What you can go back to the date where I had posted it, and you can see the discussion there. But absolutely, it has easing up the random number generator on finding knives has helped player pop. Along with a lot of people would, credit 4 dials returning as well. But I'm just saying that if there's there's more people on Doug than there have been for a year, at least North America evening times. And we should absolutely be seeing more interactions throughout the map. If we aren't, and people aren't noticing it, then maybe we want to look at player movement maps to see what's going on. But I think we're good. Unless anybody else has a question, I think we can let it go for now.
All right. Next topic is from Blake. I believe Blake is here. Yes, Blake is here.
Hello, hi, yes. What was I mentioned in
the map, keeping the map updated?
Oh yeah, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Like it takes like several months between mod updates, since mod updates, at least in the last maybe 2 years, every couple of months, generally coinciding with a wipe. And the maps span multiple wipes, or even within one wipe, there's like 4 map cycles that just don't get put in game. I think the most recent one is like the most easy to point to, since it's I think from November or October. It's now close to February, and it wasn't updated at least until a few days ago. I'm wondering if there's any way we could. I guess it's a decent question, since I don't think any other mod teams here. Is there a way that we can ship mod updates with just the map?
It simply came down to that Ammo just wasn't around to do it. He's been having a couple of things with personal life.
Okay. Is it possible that anyone else could do it?
No, that's not how the workshop works.
Because he has to publish it, okay.
And then we had the issue with Steam for the first time ever taking on the mod for an automatic review, which turned out to be an actual manual review. So we were stuck in limbo until we sent a ticket in.
Would it be better to be more upfront about this next time? Because nobody knew any of this. We just assumed it wasn't being done because there was a new mod build on the test build, and you guys didn't want to interfere with it.
Sorry, I don't understand entirely.
Last 2 months, no one's known why the map hasn't been updated in game. I think most people could tolerate the map not being updated if they knew why, which we do now, but maybe it could have been said a bit earlier.
I mean, I've had people talk to me directly, and I told them the issue. I was waiting for it to push through. So I guess I will try to be more clear about that.
Sure.
That's my fault.
I mean, it might be a perception issue from my end, but I saw it mentioned a few times in Discord and things like that. And to be honest, I didn't know either. I had no idea why it wasn't up to date. So
everybody that reached out to me, I always told them, "Hey, sorry, it's just we don't ammo."
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm hoping to see if we can get another mod update here soon to get Renegade's final bits finally in.
If that topic is done with, then okay. I know I said my whole thing of things that have more downvotes than upvotes will not be discussed, but in terms of posts by staff, for example, this next topic, do people want a server to wipe when 120 comes out? If anyone has anything they'd like to say on that, say your piece. If not, then we can move on, as the response was overwhelmingly, no, we don't want a wipe. At least by all these thumbs down I'm seeing. Right, next topic is from...
Waxer had a queue.
Oh, yep, Waxer, go ahead.
It was just quick. I just think unless a wipe is absolutely necessary, I think wiping everyone's progress and stuff like that stops RP for a little while. I know that the first 2 weeks of a wipe is always AIDS as hell, and it kind of slows everything down. So unless a wipe is necessary, I think everyone kind of agrees that we probably shouldn't wipe, just so we can keep stories and stuff like that going?
The most that will probably happen when 120 comes out is we will be forced to manually wipe all vehicles from the server. But that is depending. We still need to test how vehicles work and if we can actually get them back to how they were, which is we liked that all vehicles have wheels locked on and spawn fully. It seems to be pretty healthy. People are actually using their vehicles properly now, and they're not just having them rot inside their bases, all stripped down to nothing. But that means seeing that was a hard set by BI for 119, which means we couldn't do anything to fix that. But 120, they did the opposite now. So that will mean if we cannot keep it how it is, all vehicles need to be wiped, and you're just back to how it was.
Would there be an announcement on that and stuff like that, just so if people have stuff stored in vehicles and stuff like that, they can...
Yeah, we'll give a shout out.
All right, awesome.
Give you 24, 48 hours or so, depending on when they tell us that the update's actually coming out.
All right, Blake, go ahead.
Yeah, is it, as I guess, a middle-ish ground? Is it possible to just make the wheel health like really large? Because at least in vanilla, it's you lightly tap something and it shreds.
Apparently they upped it on their end or something. I think reading the patch notes about that.
Is this for the current patch or the one coming?
EXP, yeah, that's what they're saying, something about fixing vehicle health. That's still stuff we need to test, though.
Okay.
All right, anyone else have anything they'd like to say? If not, we can move on to the next topic. Right, next topic comes from Corey, who is not here currently. You did speak on this a bit earlier, Desync, so this will probably be quite short and sweet, but where are we regarding the community-controlled environment? When should we expect some kind of implementation, and what will implementation look like? What can the community and staff do to work together to see this goal change implemented quickly and effectively? I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to say on it, aside from what you said earlier, but I guess now would be the time.
I think overall, we'll probably see this put into place once 120 comes out, but I want to hit Diesel a little bit to get the ball rolling just a little bit faster so that if there's anything that's super pressing from the community for 1.20, we can potentially get that pushed in, but there's no promises on that.
For anyone unfamiliar, in case we have new people here, in the past months, we did a vote on our community subreddit, which I'd recommend you apply to if you haven't already. Basically, the mod team was kind of handing control of the Doug server to the community. If we want something, then votes will be put ahead on it, and then if it passes, it gets implemented. If it doesn't pass, it doesn't get implemented. That sort of thing. Right. Next topic was scored out by Echo, so I'm guessing...
There's a queue.
Oh. Louis, go ahead.
I just want to say that's dependent upon the mod team having time to do that. They're not their time isn't free. I mean, their time isn't only to make the changes to the mod. We need to consider that some things that are going to be suggested by the community could be difficult and time taking to mod in. So just wanted to mention that.
Yep. Echo's topic was scored out. Next topic comes from Mr. Humble. I don't know if Humble is here presently. Seems not. Alright, this is a big one. Community treatment of others, specifically new players and rival IC factions. Use of FOIG instead of telling someone to FOIG. Explain it to them that story-related elements are best learned in-game while playing on the server, or suggest they reach out via private message if they need to speak to certain people or groups. The community used to be very open to directing new players in a positive way, but it's becoming increasingly elitist in its response. FOIG just seems rude. Give people some help so they can get their footing easier. Don't be so elitist. OOC/rival relationships seem to have become increasingly hostile over time, especially since the introduction of hardcore. Be more inviting to your fellow community members in-game and out. More importantly, out of game firstly. Before hardcore folks would give their in-character rivals OOC help, it was considered normal. Example, PTU's trade post got griefed, and then Black Paw brought extra tents to help PTU. Didn't make sense in character, but it was the right thing to do out of character. An enemy with nothing to work with is not an exciting enemy to fight against. An enemy that has the ability to counter you is an engaging enemy. People used to give away barrels, tents, cards, etc. to other groups, including their IC enemies. Since hardcore actions like that are rare, justified with "it's an apocalypse, attrition is valid," or you're told to leave a note in game, make a trade in game, or perform an aggressive action that goes against your IC player's story. A positive OOC relationship should take precedent over a negative IC action. Take into account what you have and what others may not. Example, if you have 2 cars locked away, but one of your men finds a working car spawned in on the coast, maybe tell/gift it to your rival so they can experience it. Maybe you can set up some fun story elements or even a race. Not every piece of equipment, gun, storage, tent, etc. has to result in some in-game gain. That was a mouthful, but if anyone would like to speak on that, then by all means. If not, then we can move on. Right. Our next topic comes from Barnaby Trinket of the Overlook. I don't know if this person is here. Seemingly not. Addition of a new Discord channel named RP Content for text and video submissions pertaining to RP. Dugshare content is often rapidly filled with less relevant stuff and memes, so the spotlight isn't put on in the right place. I probably won't be able to attend the meeting. Please, anyone feel free to take this topic as they own. I believe in the last meeting, someone was talking about doing like an RP appreciation channel. Obviously, this is more suggesting like an archive, I guess, where the only thing that you'll see is stories and videos of like solid RP stuff going down. I don't think it's a bad idea by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, we don't like clutter here, but getting by all means desync.
Sorry for jumping over you.
No, that's fine.
If people want just a straight to the point, hey, here's a link to my story, hey, here's a link to my video, hey, here's a link to my artwork, or rather just only story content specifically, then I don't see an issue with that. But that's only if that's what the people here want. If people think share content's fine as is, then we'll just keep share content as is.
I think it'd be a good change personally, because I mean, that's what a lot of the draw of Doug is. And if you've got people coming into the Discord, like people from other RP communities wanting to give Doug a try, and then you have like a big channel they can go into. Obviously, stories will still be behind the subreddit, but any videos of like good story stuff and that really juicy stuff that they come for, then they can all find it, one would hope. Ryan, if you'd like to say anything on this.
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I think share content as a channel, I think it's fine as is, whether it's in-game or out-of-game content. Maybe just add a share content discussion specifically. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So add a share content discussion channel specifically. So obviously people can go in and Doug General or Members General and talk about whatever was posted, but what happens a lot, and actually we were seeing this, is somebody will post something that they worked really hard for, and then it gets kind of blown away by discussion of that really good content. By all means, it's fantastic, but maybe just have that in a separate specific channel for share content for discussion.
At that point, you just make a question. Can anybody in here actually in the share content, can they make a thread? I'm curious.
I will check.
Because at that point, that's probably the best solution. Is whenever somebody posts something, make it a thread.
I don't know.
And I'm
You can't. I
told
can't
no.
make a
Yeah,
thread.
I will. I'll see about fixing that then. And yeah, we'll just do threads from now on. Does that work for everybody? Yeah. Don't we don't bite.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
for the
that
top
works.
If you like.
Yeah.
Thread's perfect.
Right. Blake is next in queue.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of related to that topic there. I think making it thread only would be a positive change, but I think it's been mentioned briefly in because members channel the other day. Why not just open up the subreddit? It's kind of seems to be what people are looking for here. They want a place where you can share stuff without it being buried for just text posts and pictures and such. We have that already.
I believe in the past, the reason it's been resistant to opening the subreddit is because we don't want people, I don't know, say Joe Schmo gets banned from Doug, gets mad, decides to go trash the subreddit, or a bunch of people that are annoyed.
That's a completely solved problem, though. Like, there's literally thousands, if not nearly like hundreds of thousands of communities on Reddit. They've all solved this problem. There's mod bots. You can ban people on Reddit. Like it's not that difficult to fix.
That would be something for staff to speak on, then. I don't think it would be a bad thing, personally. At least more, even more transparent. More transparency in terms of, like, the stories and stuff on there. Like, I think that more of the story, like, more light should be shed upon those stories, because some of them are really fucking good. I will die on the hill that whichever story wins the Dougie for best story in that year should be made public.
I mean, I still don't see why there's any real reason to not make it public, even if it's only read only without whitelist.
I mean, yeah. More people having access to those stories would probably just drive them to want to be whitelisted more, I'd say. Because they can see all the crazy shit that people put out.
Exactly. Like, the way I see it, we have 7 years of shit that we're just sitting in an ivory tower and locking away without using it to promote what Doug is.
Waxer.
I know we don't like talk about our dead here, but I do remember a while ago, I think Sputin gave quite a few examples and links to different stuff that you can do to like set up like bots, so then it can be set up to like read only or delete comments of people that aren't whitelisted and stuff like that.
It's absolutely a solvable problem. It simply requires staff to want to do it.
Would there be maybe a way of setting up a program that, like, if the admins don't have the time to sort out the Reddit plus all the server stuff on top of it, then they could maybe sort out a group of people that would be willing to be more focused on keeping the Reddit under control and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say some sort of group of community members that polices the Reddit and keeps all the shite away could be a really good initiative.
If we're opening up more to the community run server and stuff like that, I don't see why we couldn't be open to trusting more people to be doing stuff like that as well. I'm personally not me, because I have no clue how to work Reddit. I'm a bit of a zoomer, but
I don't really know how to work Reddit, but I'd be happy to learn. That'd be something that I could do.
I mean, you're just describing the moderator role in Reddit. I'm pretty sure it's just click button and remove post, etc.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, as you'd mentioned, Waxer, Sputin had dug down the rabbit hole of a lot of this stuff and figured out a lot of stuff and perhaps presented it to staff. I know he brought it up a few times at previous community meetings, but yeah, I'm not sure.
What came down to, sadly, was the problem is that you're not going to be hit by the spam of those people. You're going to be hit by automod spam. That was the issue we came across, so we decided to keep as is.
You can delete posts if it's quick enough and they don't show up at all. Like they don't even come up with the square brackets deleted.
Is there
think it's
also
within
maybe an
a couple of
opportunity
minutes or something.
where we could open it up and see how it goes? And if it goes crazy, then you can literally just close it down and put it back to exactly how it was before, just to like have a chance to see if that actually happens. It completely hypothetical at the moment until you really test it.
Like a trial period,
Yeah,
yeah.
like a trial to see if
Okay,
it
I like
happens.
that. So my suggestion is when CCE is rolled out, vote for it.
Happy days. Sounds good.
Yep. That has brought us to the end of this current list of topics. If anyone else has anything else to say, any other topic they'd like to bring up, anything they'd like to ask staff while Desync's here, or if Desync there's anything you'd like to pose to us, the community, then by all
Yes.
means.
So I'm going to throw Ryan into the spotlight for a second.
I knew that was coming.
So we decided after talking with Ryan about his event, we came to the conclusion that what he wanted was pretty ambitious for the time frame that was allotted. What he wants could not be completed within that time, basically. So we pushed back. So we now have an event server that's unique to everything. So now we have 3 servers. We have our Doug main, we have our test server, and then we have the event server, which has proper stuff set up. So I believe, depending on what was wanted out of his guidelines, we can properly track. Because that was one of his goals, for example, was whoever killed the most people, whatever, we can track all that type of stuff. Everything's properly logged for that, so we can go back. As well as he wanted stuff for tiers. I'm just waiting on him to send me a doc for that, so we can probably have that in-game and have our moderators that are going to be in the thing have it all set up. So we can talk to you guys through Dart, depending on what is happening in-game, be it a care package Hunger Games style, like somebody donates to the stream. We're told what tier it is. We drop it nearby those players and tell them privately through the game, hey, this is where your stuff is, go get it. Or don't. It's your choice.
That sounds really fucking cool.
Yeah, basically, kind of have an in-game and out-of-game interaction for those people that can't necessarily participate in the event itself. So I'm still working on fine details. I've been pretty busy with some IRL stuff as of late, and we'll still nail down a specific date. I'm aiming at this point towards the end of February. Probably a weekend, Saturday, same time, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. Eastern. But specific day will be announced, and we'll go into more detail around that shortly. Biggest thing I think is going to be important, and those that would be interested in signing up for the event, by all means, and this is really important, I think, also for factions and faction leaders and group leaders to participate in this event, just to kind of be representative of Doug. But those that are not Fox, that's funny. Those that are not able to participate in game but still want to help with the event, the biggest challenge or the biggest helpfulness, I guess, would be with moderation and refereeing of the event. So anybody that is willing to, help spawn in items, help, in that aspect and keep track of players and teams during the event, will be a massive, massive help and help the event move a lot smoother and run a lot quicker for those that are playing. So if anybody is interested in such a thing, go ahead and shoot myself, or I would say shoot Desync and DM as well on Discord, and we'll nail down specific times and things like that.
Keep in mind this event is for charity as well.
Yes, so the charity will be St. Jude. So those of you that are not familiar, it's a King of the Castle event. teams of 3 to 5 will spawn in, work towards a little bit of looting, a little bit of shooting, work towards King of the Hill, basically, of the Corona Castle. At the core of the event, it's going to be out of character. You can play as your character during the event if you want to, but it's going to be out of character. The key is to raise money for charity. So during the event, viewers of the streaming of the event can donate to St. Jude's, and if they donate a certain amount of money, they can choose to have a certain item spawned in, whether that's a supply crate of multiple different tiers, spawn in a pack of wolves, bears, gas, whatever it is that could impact in-game events. And all it is just to encourage people to donate to St. Jude's, and also to make the game interesting, basically. But yeah, biggest thing I think will be moderation and refereeing, is I think we'll need the biggest help with. So anybody that is willing or interested, shoot myself or Desync a DM.
Besides that, sometime this week, base owners, you'll probably be getting a DM for me, or maybe not, about your base. A lot of people have been growing pretty big, and it might be time for some folks to cut back a little bit. I've seen a lot of people that have just made some giant fortresses that a couple sections, or at least it seems like from the amount of stuff they seem to be stockpiling, might be time to either spread that out away from your build or just get rid of it.
All right, bedtime. You put in a queue a little bit ago.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool. I'm not on my computer, so I just wanted to start by saying thanks to all of the staff and all the faction leaders and everyone who has put in work over the last 7 years to make this community. Really appreciate it. There was some discussion about people gathering on the coast, and I just wanted, I don't know who I'm necessarily asking this to, but I've heard a few people approach me kind of out of character. I, since the end of last month, started a community that has been growing pretty rapidly, and I guess there are some people who I was told are upset that there's too many people gathering near the coast and not moving throughout. And I just wanted to generally ask everybody if, because I foresee us like continuing to grow in terms of pulling people in and I don't know, making that problem worse. So if you could speak to that as the Doug community, and if that's a concern, I think it's something that I've just been thinking about.
Blake.
Yeah, it definitely is a concern. Certainly in deeper parts of the map, it's difficult to see anyone, let alone hear them. And it's been like that for quite a while. To the point where we're kind of wondering what we're doing if we're more north than Cabanino, sort of thing. Like, there's not really much else to say other than, yeah, I think it's an issue. Like, I'm not really sure what other input I can give.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just, for me, like the vision of having a big area where people can start out and kind of get introduced and then eventually find their place is attractive to me. But if that's making an already existing problem worse, I just wanted to at least have conversations with people who are concerned about that.
Perhaps one suggestion, at least as if you still want to do the same idea, the thing that comes to mind is maybe more central. So all the traffic going to and from this area is not concentrated in like one, I guess the rightmost third of the map. It's more centered in the, I guess, Starry would be one place to consider, and then everyone moving in and out or towards will at least be not so concentrated in one half of the map. Other than that, you can split up into different little communities which are all allied with each other or something like that. Like, I don't know, as simple as some sort of federation, something, I don't know. If you still want to have the same idea, I'm sure there's ways you could do it without concentrating like 40 to 50% of the server's cap in one location.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that suggestion, and anyone else on this call who is concerned can feel free to reach out to me if especially the administration and all the leaders and stuff. I just wanted to say that in case I was doing something that was ruining stuff for people.
Waxer, you're next in queue.
Cool. I'm gonna play a devil's advocate here. Personally, I think, well, I spoke to Mittens recently about it and stuff like that. In case people aren't very up to date on what they're like doing there, it's a pretty cool idea. They're bringing in absolutely everyone that rocks up on their door. All these new players to Doug that probably are new to DayZ as well. I've seen a lot of people that basically don't even know how to feed themselves, and they're basically teaching all these people how to play, making sure that they can survive for a couple of days, enjoy the server, and the whole concept of this big gathering down there is to teach them how to play, get them involved in Doug, and then if they would like to move on after, they can. I've seen some people move on from there and go other places after, but I think the whole point of them being on the coast is obviously that's where everyone starts. You know, it'd be kind of useless to put it somewhere where, you know, these new players might not even get to. I guess it is kind of an issue of like the amount of people that are there, but I think what they're doing is a good thing. I don't think people should see it as a negative thing, because I mean, it's probably where a lot of our pop growth has come from, is from, you know, giving new players somewhere to actually, you know, start and get involved with the community.
Oswald, you're next.
All right, hi. So I'm around Cherno in the row a lot, and all the people that live there are always like going up north and like going on hunting trips. They're all like new, and they say like they're gonna try to go meet people, and then they go up there, they don't meet anyone. I think there needs to be more like some sort of camp up north that they can travel to, like something interesting up north. Because the reason why we're in the south is that everything interesting is in the south right now. I think someone needs to like make some sort of group up there, I guess, and like more central or north, and then more people will go up there. Because right now, the only group really that they have to go to is like Severo, and there's no more like Black Cross. There's no more like other groups where they're any group up north, really, in my opinion. There's no reason to go up there. That's me.
All right, Xavier, you're next.
My specific concern with Cherno would be just the sheer amount of like large bases that are down there. And I'd be curious to know, because unless my information is wrong, then there's at least 2 groups that have a whole separate base from their normal territory just down in Cherno. And I wonder why, or if that's even necessary. Like that's my main issue. Like when I go to Cherno, I look at the main city, I drop down to 30 FPS. That's an issue, just by the sheer amount of bases and stuff being stored down there.
Bedtime, if you'd like to respond to what Xavier is saying, then go ahead.
I really appreciate that. I just want to clarify, at least for my part, I can't speak for all of Cherno. I've only been building in Dubovo. I have been very intentional about having the least amount of build with the most amount of people that it serves. So at least for our section of stuff, like I've not allowed watchtowers. You won't see a lot of building on the outsides of buildings. There are a lot of people there and a lot of bases set up, but some of the folks who have stuff, it's just one gate on a garage. So anyway, at least for me, I've been very mindful of that from the beginning. But if people have ideas about downsizing stuff, definitely approach me and let me know.
Yeah, I don't think it's the garages that are the issue there. Like little like one gate run back stashes, that's fine. But from what I've heard, there's other groups that like live up north or whatever, and they have a whole apartment down there. I don't know if like either Debovo or Cherno, I'm working on very loose information that I might not even be correct on.
Okay, well, those two, just for clarity's sake, those are two different separate communities. We're right next to each other, but I haven't necessarily like coordinated with Cherno, and maybe that's the problem and something that I need to sit down with them and think about.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Ryan is next in queue.
Yeah, the conversation kind of evolved a little bit since I queued, but I mean, I would say just in general, having people living on the coast, I don't think is an issue specifically regarding new players and player growth. Like I think it was Waxer was saying earlier, you spawn into a server and you see, oh man, there's a lot of people around this area. There's a lot of people to talk to, a lot of people to meet, a lot of information to get. So it kind of intrigues people. And I mean, me personally, and everybody plays differently, but I've had no problem meeting with people on the coast, no problem meeting with people in the east, in the north, in the west. There's people all over the map. I think it's a matter of DayZ is a weird game because there could be a full server plus 30 queue and you could meet nobody for 3 hours. I mean, I've been there, but it's just one of those things where it depends on where you're at, and at the end of the day, I think the issue comes from the structures and the lag, I guess, is what I think is the main problem. Like Xavier was saying, you look at Cherno and you walk into Cherno, there's a fucking 30 FPS. It can definitely be an issue. But I think as far as like player movement and where people decide to live, it's I mean, I think it's not really realistic to be able to enforce that, in my opinion. I kind of like what Cannery's doing as far from what I've understood of how you're doing things bedtime. It's everybody is there, but they're all individuals. They're all, you know, they do what they come and go as they please, and they live there, and but they don't really live there. It's kind of interesting, and I've always had a good experience every time I've gone there. So, but
yeah.
To
clarify, it's not a faction, and it's more like a hub. And but I get the FPS stuff is just something I've been thinking about really hard from the beginning, and those are probably two separate issues that are coming together. And I appreciate everyone's feedback.
Desync is next in queue.
Yeah, I just want to come from a staff perspective. I've heard that you have, 70 people now?
I mean, not everybody plays at the same time, but there might be like 65 or more who would consider that area a place where they have a garage or they live.
Yeah, that was the thing that I think there was something you had said. I cannot remember if this was an out-of-game remark or an in-game remark, and it made me think that there is potentially a powder keg on the horizon. But feel free to clarify or just tell me I'm wrong. But it was that when something goes wrong, or you had the idea that something was going to go wrong, that you are going to call your friends to go help out. Now, to me, that has painted a bit of a timeline for me, and that we've been kind of joking about this internally, is that the stars are kind of aligning in some bits, and that we're going to soon see you amassing 50 plus people to go attack somebody. That's why we're hoping that that is not the case. That you choose to not use that card.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, like, for me, I'm very aware of, like, it would be, like, as far as wiping folks go and different things like that and responding in ways that are not appropriate, I've seen it kill servers. I was a part of the whole lug stuff, and I watched what it did. So I'm extremely mindful of all of that. And for the people who move in, I tell them to be mindful of how it affects the whole community. Yeah, I think there's a sense that, like, if you attack a city full of people who are, not affiliated with anyone, like, that's, there's a lot of individuals that don't all necessarily coordinate with each other. So it seems, I don't know if that makes sense at all. Like,
that's what I'm trying to say is with great power comes great responsibility.
oh no, I totally
and
get it.
like
Yeah.
we've had this joke internally that we're going to see a ticket, seeing how some in-game stuff has gone, that we're going to see a ticket labeled Gorka's gone.
Well,
And
I
we're
mean,
worried
like,
that
Reduced to
we'll have
atoms.
yeah, we're worried of how we're going to have to go about like just
I
moderating any of that and having to actually go through, because again, when you have 70 people potentially at your fingertips, that's a lot of stuff, and that's a lot of things that can go wrong too, especially when they all point to you.
Right. And I really appreciate you saying that, especially from the staff perspective. Like, having a conversation like that and hearing that feedback from you is super important to me. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think maybe I'll have an offline conversation with staff and just make sure that, like, I don't want to ruin stuff for anyone, of course. That's not, I love Doug. And when I started here, I was just running around with a torch for 3 years asking people what their spiritual truths were, because I think it's so amazing. And, yeah, so I'll chat with staff offline if they'd like. But if anyone has concerns about stuff like that, please definitely hit me up.
One thing I can really recommend to you is finding representatives within those people and have them start taking control of other people and have them start branching outwards so that we can take care of a few of these issues, it seems like, so these people not just only stay in Cherno, they go elsewhere and start establishing their own camps, trading posts, etc., if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I think a lot of us really like the city life, to be frank. But if that's like at some point what staff or the community as a whole wants to happen, I definitely would like to know that.
I think you would overall, for the health of the server, be for the best. Because right now what we're seeing, I guess from my point of view, is that we're seeing a bit of a flavor of the month in that Cherno is the hot new place. But at some point, somebody's going to be in there causing trouble, be it internally or externally. And somebody may take something the wrong way, and we're either going to see a major explosion or a major implosion, which will lead to probably a lot of people being banned and a lot of other issues.
That's kind of
that's,
true
of course,
across the board.
scenario.
Yeah, that's also true across the board, right? I mean, there's been times where people have been banned in small groups, and I don't know. Maybe I'm failing to see like I understand what you're saying is that there are a lot of people in one area can cause a lot of drama, and that makes sense. But all the folks who live here, kind of, what I tell everyone is they just have to live with the consequences of their own actions, and I think that's true for all of us, right? But I get it. I really appreciate this, and maybe we can have this conversation without taking up everybody's time. But I feel like I understand what you're saying and want to think a lot more about
it. Miller is next in queue.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of good points with all of that. Somebody was saying that they don't see any action in the north and they think that it's kind of pointless, but we've set up Humble Haven up here. We've been active up here for 5 or 6 months. I know we've got a good amount of people, but we still can't be on all the time. And another thing that we do try not to do is get gate locked and be stuck here all the time too. We got to get out and do stuff also. But I mean, as far as other groups up here, I don't think we still see a lot of good flow. We constantly get people coming through asking about Fox and where they're at. Rangers are just starting to set something up here. There's a new spot in Vybor. So I think there's still a lot of activity up in the north. Just maybe where you're at or where you're looking. I don't know as much about the Northeast. That might be a different story, but that's all I had to say, really.
I can only speak for myself, but I do know that a lot of the northern folks have been, at the very least, directing their attention to the south in comparison to what they were doing before.
Yeah, that does make sense too. But I don't think, as far as we go, we've seen plenty of traffic flow still up in the north.
I would agree. That's been my case as well, personally.
Harvey is next.
Yay. Just to kind of expand on what Winslow was saying earlier there, like we've seen, well, to start, like it's not specifically your issue, bedtime. You're one guy who runs his own thing. It's not necessarily on you to solve it, but you are kind of an anchor to it. I mean, there's 6 groups I want to say down there. I mean, you've got the one at the docks, which I think is ORCC. There's that other industrial base. There's one by PD. There's another by hospital. You got Cannery Row. Then you got the tech building next to it. Then the apartment adjacent to that. Like just on a performance aspect, like the bubble begins around Suicide Bridge when we're coming in from the east, and it's just shit from there on until you pass through if you're lucky. Let's say it's not you, it's all the groups that decided to make that their home need to kind of evaluate what's going on there and recognize that this is kind of expanded beyond just a small problem now. Like Waxer says, you're helping people, and it may have started off as a novel idea and done some good, obviously, but it's kind of metastasized into this giant mass of people in one area and all their bases and all their shit, and it's an issue. I think people recognize that and are starting to say something. I mean, in terms of the numbers, since it got brought up, there's strength in numbers, but it does become a bit ridiculous eventually. I mean, we as a group have been told many times by people at staff even that it's a problem to have too many people, and I think there needs to be a hard look at what's happening in that area where you have 60, 70 plus people that you can, ring up the bad phone and get them in there. But it sounds like that's being monitored already.
Yeah, more or less.
You want to respond bedtime, then go ahead.
Again, just thanks to everyone who's sharing their experiences. The FPS thing has been my worry from the very beginning. I've talked to people who have been around for a long time before I started to build it. And yeah, there are definitely multiple groups down there, and we need to look at that because that's a big concern of mine. But hearing all this is great because I was going to keep moving people in, and I don't see all of Cannery Row as like one big thing that acts together, because there are people who deeply disagree who live there, and people who are arguing for all different kinds of things. And so yeah, I mean, it's kind of an in-game thing when you go and you shoot up a place full of individuals that like stuff happens after that. But if there's been talk in the past about groups getting too big, I would love to know that, because I can see why that would be an issue. So thanks, Harvey.
It's been something beaten into our head for years, because I mean you talk to most people, and the thought is, hey, dam rolls deep, and it used to be the case, maybe not so much these days, but I mean, I was told at one point that having more than 4 is an issue, and I don't necessarily agree with that considering the size of most groups. But I think when we're talking about when you told me that you had 50 people, I kind of tilted my head a bit and thought, oh, okay, that's fucked. That's a lot of people and you say, like, they're not always there, they're on maybe once a week, twice a week, whatever. It's a lot of people to have concentrated the majority of their activity in one place. And I worry that, I think Corey said it a few months ago when people were starting to see this, that people will get used to it, they'll move on and spread out to the other places, but I'm not seeing it. I just see more and more growth in this one area, and Even thinking again on the performance, I can't imagine it helps on the server side because, I mean, my fledgling understanding, when people are in an area, it's got to load all that shit around it. And that's going to have a deleterious effect on the server's FPS. And it's been noticeable even elsewhere in the world. Just because, you got 3 or 4 people just in Cherno loading 7 bases and everything in it, and it stays there the whole time. But like, I don't know what you do. Like, I can't say, hey, you need to, like, 5e groups need to tear your shit down and move out. Like, that's not up to me. But
I appreciate that.
I don't know what else you can do.
No, it's a concern I have too. So I'll definitely be thinking hard about it.
I think overall it's time for folks to start spreading their wings a bit. Get a group of friends and move out. Don't have to go too far away, but just away from Cherno potentially.
Well, it's just a full. You look at the map, like the recent map change. There's huge spots where it's just empty. Like, there's places for people to go, and like you have the full map. It's a more vibrant map and a more vibrant experience for everyone.
Even if they want to
You don't
spread
have to run an hour
themselves
and a half.
along the coast, there's cities like Electro, Berezino, Svetloyarsk.
Electro's empty.
Even Kami, Solnishny, Mista, to name a few.
I mean, we got rid of Berezino as one of our claims, like 2-3 white map sessions ago, whatever it was, to encourage more people to go there, and there's places to go. Not that I recommend building in Berezino.
Real quick, I think, and can anybody tell me if they have experienced this as well? The spawns, freshly spawns, they seem to be really heavily, like, leaned towards Cherno. Like, I'll spawn 10 times. If I spawn 10 times, I'll get Cherno 7 of the times, and then Berezino the other 3. Has anybody else experienced this?
Doug's disabled a lot of quote-unquote easier spawns. Like the ones which are a little bit inland, like, for example, the Northeast Airfield Radio Tower, that's a spawn.
I rarely get it East Coast.
Yeah, I don't get it often. Like, maybe once in a while I'll get a Solnishny, but I think that could also play into the conversation we're having now, is if more people are likely to spawn in Cherno, more people are probably going to want a base there for many different reasons. But that would, I mean, again, that's just something that I have observed. I don't know if anybody else is.
It's not really just RNG if you look at I Survive Desync. Like, it is RNG in that it's random where you spawn, but if you look at how many discrete player spawns there are, there's a lot in Electro and Cherno relative to the rest of the coast. They're a lot more dense there. And if you take it as true random which one you're going to get, then you're more likely to get Electro or Cherno.
And also a lot of the non-Electro Cherno spawns have been disabled unless that's been quietly changed in the couple of years that it's been advertised as a feature of the Doug mod, and that easier spawns have been disabled.
I mean, what do we determine as easier? I mean, because
I'm looking at Azarive right now, and there's a spawn within 1 kilometer of Krasnostav.
Oh, okay.
Not
yeah, okay.
Cherno, not Electro, Krasnostav. There's one in Kelm. There's one like pretty much at St. Joe's, like 100 meters away, 200 meters away from St. Joe's.
So I think, like, I definitely say, like, the inland spawns like those should be. Yeah, I see some, like, almost close to Staroy, and there's one near Mogilevka as well. So definitely, like, those should stay disabled, I think. But I mean, the spawns seem to be so heavily geared towards Chernogorsk and between Cherno and Electro. It's kind of absurd. I think we can kind of
If your
alleviate that.
choices are mostly Cherno, like probability is going to tell you that you're going to mostly spawn in Cherno.
Yeah. Oh, the Naked Vibor spawn, that was a classic.
Seymour, if you want to say anything, you're next in queue.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that more people could definitely branch out if you want to stay on the coast. You could branch out east because the way I see it is a lot of people stick to the Cherno and west area because of its availability of loot and whether there are a lot of groups competing down there for said loot, but I mean, why would you? The way I see it is, why would you go far and go anywhere like if you have loot that's readily available to you that you don't have to actually make a lot of the journey for? Like, whether we want to call ourselves an RP server or not, a lot of people are motivated by gear and things on the server, and that's just DayZ in general. Typically, I would say for a lot that actually takes priority, and if there's no reason to go to these places, like I don't know if anyone's who's really hit Tizzy a lot, but like Tizzy's pretty hit or miss generally. So why would you go all the way up to the northwest corner of the map when you could get on at 6 o'clock in the morning and go loot Pav Military and have whatever you need, or you could go to Western Evac or the VMC and WAF, whatever. You don't have to actually go that far out from where these places are, and just as that a thought that the Riffy's right over there. So if someone wants to move into like Savet or something, that'd be cool because you could really spread it out. And if you don't want to move far for loot, you could hit that up.
But do you think I'd like to, if you can, real quick, just hear your thoughts on the spawns, the player spawn thing.
I can only throw an estimate to the amount of player spawns we have, but my estimation is that getting a Cherno spawn's 22% chance. And next update, they're also adding more spawns to the southeast. It seems like their idea is that they want Cami to be the new fresh spawn area, apparently, for some reason.
Not the tomatoes, bro.
Oh god, I can hear their British
me,
accents from here.
To me, it's
Weapons check.
a non-issue. I can only say from my own experience is that while everyone's getting a Cherno spawn, I'd love to get a Cherno spawn, especially in my ult, so I can go hang around that place, just check it out. But I'm stuck with Baronzino for the time being, personally.
Gotcha.
Rick, if that's how I say your name, is next in queue.
Yeah, it's you can call me Rick. I just wanted to speak on the topic that I believe was just being spoken about, the group in Cherno, and the heavy amount of players that are in that area. I just wanted to bring up that I was in that area yesterday, and it almost I'm new to the server. A buddy of mine have been playing on it for a long time and brought me on, which I really am enjoying my time. But I did run into an issue where it was just a massive collective of people running up on people, which in a new player's perspective, a new player to the server, just felt off-putting in a lot of ways, because it just felt like, oh, so we're just grouping up, killing people fresh off a spawn. So I just did want to bring up that it is happening. I saw it happen. It happened to me. And I just wanted to bring up that I don't think that's fair to a lot of new people to the community. It steers people away and worries them about, okay, is this going to be a fun experience, or is this just people are just killing on site and not actually playing out or having that RP aspect?
It definitely does feel like kicking a hornet's nest whenever there's a fight down there, because you just hear shot after shot after shot, which I'm assuming is them just the people down there just taking precautions and not shooting, and just shooting any fresh spawns they see, because they don't know if it's like an actual fresh spawn, if it's a run back, if it's someone that's like just trying to run towards the shots and grab a kit from a dead body.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's I just wanted to just chime in and say, yeah, I have experienced it. It's not the most welcoming feeling, which of course it is DayZ. You know, you run into things like that and whatnot, but in a community-based type field, which is how my friends, you know, encourage me to join. It's very community. I love RP. I think it's a lot of fun. So it's just something to, you know, keep in mind when y'all continue forward with that specific subject.
Well, does anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this matter, or any other things they'd like to bring up? If that's everything people want to talk about right now, then I suppose I could release the lot of you.
Assuming you had us in the first place.
Onwards to Gorka? Question mark.
All right, where's bedtime? We gotta hit him up real quick. We're raiding Gorka, guys.
Oh no.
See you soon.
No, please.
As long as there's not a queue and I can log in.
Oh, there will be.
I want to fight the waves.
It's fucking Nazi zombies.
Yeah, we're just playing zombies here. It starts off with freshies with steak knives and advances to like round 50 is like guys with LARs and plate carriers.
Bro, by the door. Come on, bro. By the door.
By the door. We need to get to the watchtower. Come on.
Nah, bro. I'm saving my money
Not
for
raid
Pack a
Gorka.
Punch, bro.
Just
Get
send
that
the
ray
army.
gun, baby.
They can send waves of people